The clock ticks down to one of the most pivotal moments in history. The world is on the brink of collapse as Mussolini stands before the Italian people in what will be his final address before capture. His voice, once commanding and proud, trembles with the weight of a nation's collapse. Italy, once a powerhouse under his rule, has crumbled under the pressure of war, betrayal, and defeat. At this very moment, Mussolini knows it's over. The dreams of a fascist empire are shattered. The iron grip he once held over Italy is slipping away. His military has surrendered, and his allies have abandoned him. Yet, even in the final moments, there's a dangerous resolve in his words. The clock is ticking. This address marks the end of an era, but more importantly, it marks the point where Mussolini's desperate attempts to maintain control and deflect blame are laid bare. This is the voice of a man who has no more illusions. His empire has crumbled, and now he must face the consequences of his actions. But will he? Will he take full responsibility, or will he attempt to escape the fate that awaits him? As Mussolini speaks, there is a sense of urgency in his voice. He knows the world is watching. He knows that this will be his last chance to shape his legacy. Will he choose to go down with honor, or will he fight until the very end, refusing to acknowledge the collapse of his vision? This is not just a speech. It's the last defense of a man who once ruled with iron fists. But there's something darker in his words, something far more sinister. As his power fades away, his desperation intensifies. There are hints of blame, accusations, and a desperate plea for forgiveness. But will anyone listen? Mussolini's last address is not just an apology or an acknowledgement of defeat. It is a final declaration of defiance. Even as his government crumbles, he insists that the Italian people have been betrayed. But by whom? By his allies? By the people who once supported him? Or was the betrayal rooted within the very system he built? There is no easy answer. Mussolini's words are laced with contradictions. He demands loyalty from those who abandoned him, but he fails to offer the same in return. In these final moments, he's not just addressing his people. He's speaking to the history books, to the generations that will come after him, hoping to reshape the narrative. His speech becomes increasingly erratic as he struggles to maintain control. His tone shifts from defiant to desperate, and his words reflect the confusion that has taken over his mind. The fear is palpable. Mussolini knows what awaits him. The consequences of his actions have caught up with him. But will he accept them? Or will he fight to the bitter end? His final words carry the weight of a broken man who once stood tall at the head of an empire. There is no more bravado, no more arrogance, just a fragile attempt to hold on to what little remains of his power. But will it be enough to save him? The people listen in silence, aware that their fate is tied to his. They too are trapped in a collapsing regime, with no clear path forward. Mussolini's speech offers no solution, only an admission of failure. And yet, the audacity remains. The dictator who once dreamed of a new Roman Empire, now reduced to a voice crackling over the airwaves, pleading for his life. But even as Mussolini speaks, the forces of justice are closing in. The inevitability of his capture looms over him like a shadow. It is only a matter of time before he is hunted down, brought to justice for the atrocities he committed. His last attempt at redemption is futile. As the address nears its end, there is a sense of finality. The people are no longer listening to his words. They have heard enough. The regime he built is crumbling, and they know it is only a matter of time before Mussolini faces the consequences. The silence following Mussolini's address is deafening. His words, once loud and commanding, now hang in the air like a ghost. The once ironclad regime he created is no more than a shell, with the cracks growing wider by the second. His final plea for control has failed, and with it, his credibility. The time for redemption has passed, and Mussolini knows it. But there's still a fire in his eyes. His resolve remains unbroken. Even as the inevitable draws closer, he clings to the hope that his voice will reach someone, anyone, who will believe him, who will follow him, who will save him. But the truth is undeniable. His time is up. At the heart of Mussolini's speech is an unwavering denial. He speaks of betrayal, of forces beyond his control that led Italy to ruin. He refuses to acknowledge the role he played in the downfall of his own empire. Instead, he deflects, placing blame on foreign powers, on internal dissent, on everything except himself. He speaks as though he is still the strong man, still the leader who can shape history with a word. But the world knows otherwise. The Italian people, listening from their homes, in the streets, in the midst of chaos, are no longer swayed by his words. They have seen the destruction he brought. They have lived through the horrors of war, the devastation of their cities, the loss of their loved ones. Mussolini's regime is a shadow of the past, and even his most loyal supporters can no longer ignore the collapse that has taken place. His reign was built on promises of strength and glory, but all that remains is a broken nation. Mussolini may still believe in his own narrative, but the people have moved on. The world has moved on. The Allies have all but won. The Axis powers are scattered, their dreams of domination shattered. The voices of resistance grow louder, and Mussolini's voice is drowned out by the rising tide of change. As Mussolini speaks, there's an unmistakable sense of fear creeping into his tone. He stammers, he falters, and for the first time in years, he appears vulnerable. The facade of invincibility he once wore so proudly begins to crack. His words, once sharp and powerful, now fall flat. His final address is not the powerful call to arms he once envisioned, but a desperate cry for help that will never come. Behind him, Italy lies in ruins. The cities are devastated, the economy is in shambles, and the people are starving. Mussolini's war machine, which once crushed nations beneath its might, has crumbled. The people's loyalty to him has been worn down by years of hardship, by the sacrifices they were forced to make, by the countless lives lost in his name. They no longer believe in the promises of greatness he made. They want peace, they want an end to the suffering, and they want the man who caused it all to answer for his crimes. The reality is sinking in. Mussolini's grip on Italy is gone, and with it, his power. The very people he once ruled with an iron fist are now his enemies. His government is on the verge of collapse, and he is left alone, trapped in his own delusion. Even as he tries to rally his people, he knows deep down that the end is near. Italy's resistance fighters, who have been waging their own battle against Mussolini's regime, are closing in. They have been watching his every move, waiting for the moment when the dictator would falter. That moment has arrived. The once mighty fascist party is now a shadow of its former self, its leaders scattered or in hiding. Mussolini is a fugitive in his own country, and the people are no longer afraid of him. Mussolini's attempts to rally support are in vain. His calls for unity fall on deaf ears. The people are no longer interested in his rhetoric. They are focused on survival, on rebuilding, on escaping the horrors he unleashed. His message, once so powerful, is now a hollow echo in the void. The tides of history have turned against him, and there is no going back. In his final moments, Mussolini tries to salvage something, anything, from the wreckage of his regime. But there is nothing left to save. The Italian people have moved on. They are looking to the future, to a new Italy, one that will rise from the ashes of Mussolini's fascist dream. They have seen the cost of his rule, and they are done. As Mussolini's speech draws to a close, there is no triumphant conclusion, no final rallying cry. Just a man defeated, standing alone before a nation he has led to ruin. His voice falters, his words fade, and the air grows thick with the weight of inevitability. The dictator who once stood at the center of a world-shaping empire is now nothing more than a broken man, desperately holding onto his fading power. But even in his final moments, Mussolini's pride refuses to let go. He speaks of loyalty, of betrayal, of honor, all words that now ring hollow. The truth is inescapable. Mussolini's empire has fallen, and the man who built it will soon face the consequences. As the address ends, the fate of Mussolini is sealed. His words have no power anymore. They can't reverse the damage, they can't change the course of history, and they can't save him from the justice that awaits him. The forces of justice are closing in, and Mussolini's days of power are numbered. In the coming days, Mussolini will be captured, and his fate will be sealed. But his last address, this desperate attempt to salvage his legacy, will be remembered. It will be the final testament of a man who believed that his words could change the world, even as the world turned its back on him.